Once again, you are welcome to Data Jobs Naija Power BI training class. My name is Isaiah Adebayo. I'm here again, and I'm going to be taking us storage mode in Power BI. I'm sure that this is not new to us. And as I start, if you have any question, please just note it down. There will be a section for question and answer whereby you'll be allowed to ask your question. So I'm sure that you can all see my screen. Please, if you can see my screen, just let me know by signifying maybe yes or something to be sure that everyone can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. At least thank you for your response. Okay, so let's start by explaining what storage mode is. So what is storage mode? I'm going to put up my video now. So now storage mode, when we are talking about storage mode, what we are simply saying is the different method of establishing a connection to your data sources and determining whether the data is cached in memory for our reports. So what we are simply saying is that, when we are dealing with Power BI, you are dealing with data, and there has to be a way whereby you bring in your data into Power BI. So there has to be a way in which you bring in your data into Power BI. And there are different types of mode in which you will want your data to be brought into Power BI. So basically what we are saying is that we are trying to determine what is the best connection that needs to be established between your data sources and bringing them into Power BI. Now, there are some things I would like to explain as we move on. Some of the things that you most likely hear me repeat over time, or some of the things that you most likely hear people say when it comes to data generally and when it comes to storage mode. So there are three things to keep in mind. Three things basically to keep in mind in order for you to determine the best mode to use when I'm bringing your data into Power BI. The first thing you have to have in mind is what we call your query performance optimization. By now, if you have been in this class, that should not be a news that as a Power BI developer, or as a Power BI the auditor analyst, that should be in your mind, that you must ensure that whatever you are working on or whatever report you are creating, it must be optimized. So query performance is very important. The second thing also is that the data size. How big is your data size? Is your data size big? Is it small? How large is it? What is the size of your data size? That will also you should also have that in mind. Then the next thing also is what we call real-time data expectation. Now, you must have heard this word several times, real-time data expectation. What do we mean by that? We are saying that if the information is delivered or updated instantly as event happen. So how recent is the data you are bringing in? That is also something you must have in mind. So three things must always be at the back of your mind whenever you are working or you want to bring in your data into Power BI. Query performance, the data size, real-time data expectation. Now, there are majorly, there are four actually, but majorly there are three types of storage mode in Power BI. The first one is the import mode. The second is the direct query mode. And the third is what? Is the dual mode. So we are going to talk about these three modes. We are going to talk about them in detail. So when we talk about import mode, we are just talking about pulling your data into your in-memory engine, leading to faster performance. We'll talk about that later. Then when we talk about direct query, we are talking about query data in real time from the data source every time a user interacts with the visual. And the third is dual. Dual has to do with combination of both your import mode and direct query mode altogether. So there are times that there are instances whereby you may need to put a table in a storage mode because of what you are planning to use the table for in your Power BI. So let's delve into some of these types and let's talk about them in detail. Now, the import mode is one of the commonly used, and powerful storage mode in Power BI. And in this mode, this has to do with your data is being imported, and the data, as it's being imported, is being stored in Power BI's memory. It's being stored in Power BI's engine. By now, we should all know, if you have been reading your note and if you have been following the sequence of the class, Mr. Benga has said it several times. I remember there was a time he asked us a question that the engine of Power BI, which is the VertiPack engine. So what we are saying is that whenever you use the import mode, your data is imported, and in a simple word, Power Query or Power BI keeps a copy of your data. It keeps a copy of your data. So in keeping a copy of your data, that means that the data can be available offline, and you can get to create your reports with the data because Power BI has kept a copy of the data. So in import mode, the data is cached in memory for instant query. It's kept in memory for instant query. Now, just think about it. As long as you import your data and your data is available in Power BI, that means there are a lot of benefits that comes with it. Because number one of this is that you'll be able to easily access the data, and also whatever you're going to do with the data, will definitely be available for you. And the import mode, when we talk about the import mode is used for small data sizes from various sources. It's used for small data sizes from various sources into Power BI, and it helps you to easily access, the data. Now, examples of the data for the import mode is the ones we usually use. Some of us, we are familiar with it. You import a sheet from Excel or a CSV file. You can also import from SQL Server. We have what we call SharePoint Lead, web data from APIs, also Oracle database. So when it comes to working offline, the import mode is best used when it comes to, working offline. So two things: static or manually changing the data when you need fast performance, and when working offline. So when I'm working offline, the import mode is best used. So what are the advantages? Let's talk about the advantages that comes with the import mode. Number one is that, I've said it before, your report performs better. It performs faster because Power BI keeps a copy of the data in its own engine. That's number one. Number two is that, it supports advanced transformation and complex models. So whatever transformation, all sort of transformation in Power Query that you want to do, you can easily get to do them. Another thing is that you can use all the functionalities with your DAX and your visuals. You can use all that. So it's more like a full package. It has a full, powerful features, of Power BI. Another thing is that it combines data from multiple sources. So that means that you can import data from CSV, you can import data from JSON, you can import data from Excel. You can import from any database machine, SQL, PostgreSQL, MySQL. You can import them and then just do whatever you want to do with the data, clean the data, combine the data, do whatever you want to do with it. So it allows multiple sources of data into your Power BI report. And another thing which I've also laid emphasis on is that, you can also work offline because you have a copy of the data. And it's also best for analytical dashboard, which enhance speed and flexibility. That's about the import mode. However, there are some limitations when it comes to the import mode. One of the limitations is that you see, when you are dealing with large set of data, large models, it consumes the Power BI memory, and then of course it's going to definitely affect your reports. But when it comes to large data sets, that will definitely may not really work very well when it comes to import mode. When you are using Power BI, I think from the for the free version, you have maximum of 1 gig of data set that you can use. If you subscribe for the premium, you have a maximum of 10 gig of data, 10 gigabytes, 10 gig of data set. So if your data set is going beyond that, you can be sure that this mode this storage mode is not best for you. It will definitely frustrate how your reports work, and you will definitely, not enjoy, the experience of the user for the report will definitely not be good. Another thing also is also that there's also a schedule refresh limit based on the license you purchase. That is also there. Then the data is not real time. The data is not real time. Remember, I said that some of these things you'll be hearing me saying it over again. So that means that the data is not constantly up to date, because the copy of the data set is being kept in Power BI. So it's not always up to date. It's not always updated. You have to do a manual refresh and do a few things before you can readily have the data set available for you. Then storage size, constrain large data set, consume memory, and may eat Power BI row limits. That's another challenge. So when you are dealing with large data sets, the import mode is not the best option for us. When you want your data to be real time, the import mode may not really be the best option to use. Then another thing I would also like to say is that whenever one of the ways to identify the mode of your table in Power BI is by also looking at the small logo here. If you notice that on the screen, I selected a section of the screenshot of the pictures, and this particular logo beside the sales actually indicated that the data set is in import mode. We also check it, we see the practical aspect, and we also see that. So sometimes when you see this logo, particularly beside the sales, just a small box, and it then shows that your data set is actually in import mode. So it's important for you to know that. So in case you just want to have a quick look of the data set, or to check the storage mode of what the data set is, by the time you just see that logo, it then shows that your data set is in import mode. So that's about the import mode. Now let's talk about the other mode, which is direct query mode. We are still going to walk through the practical aspects and see how some of these things is being shown. So that the next mode we have is the direct query mode. The direct query mode allows you to connect directly to the source, and the data remain in the source. So when we are talking about the direct query mode, I believe you cannot still hear me. Hello?
Sure. We can hear you, please.
Okay.
Your class is going well. We can hear you.
Oh, yes, thank you.
We can hear you. Yes.
So when we talk about the direct query mode, so we are saying that you are connecting directly to the source where you are bringing the data from. That's the direct query mode. So this allows you to connect directly to the source, and the data remain in the source. Now just think about it. If your data remains in the source, you know the implication. That means if anything happens to the source, then that means that it's going to also affect whatever you've done on Power BI. That's the direct query mode. So the direct query mode has to do with picking the data directly from the source. Now, the direct query mode is best used for large data sets. So when loading the data, when loading data into the memory is not practical. So when you are dealing with large set of data, the best mode to use is actually the direct query mode. So best used for large data sets. Now, because it's picking the data from the source, you can be sure that most of the data there will definitely be up to date. So when you are dealing with real-time dashboard, the direct query mode is also acceptable. When the data must be current, then the fourth point, data security and governance require keeping the data at the source. So there are times whereby for some organizations, they are mindful of their data, and they don't allow you to just have access to any of their data. So you may have some limitations in terms of, they will tell you that whatever you want to do, they are going to allow you to connect to the server, do whatever you want to do, and that's it. We are not giving you our data at all. And the reason for that is because of data security. So for data security, because the data is coming from the source, you have to use the data query, the direct query mode, and such that if tomorrow comes and you guys have a disagreement, they can easily disconnect you so that you will not have access to the what? To the data set. So examples, we have Azure SQL database, Azure Synapse Analytics, we have SAP HANA, we have Snowflakes, we have what we call the Google BigQuery. I'm sure you must have heard about that. We have SQL Server for real-time reporting needs. We have what we call Power BI dataset or dataverse. So those are the, the examples of cases whereby you may need to use direct query mode. I may need to switch to my normal mode. I want to show us something here. Now, if you look at the logo here, the sign here, let me tell you, if you look at the sign here, you'll see that there is two small arrow. These two small arrow that is showing an arrow direction of up and down. It shows you that your data which you bring into Power BI is actually in the direct query mode. So sometimes when you see that data set, you should know that means that the data set is being set into direct query mode. Now, before we go to the third types of storage mode, I would like to take us to the practical aspect and show us a few things about some of the things I've explained. But before we go, also let's talk about the advantages, the limitations, of direct query mode. Some of them have said it. The data must be real time. It's always up to date. Now, because it's connecting to the source, you may not need to be refreshing your data because it's being connected to the source. So once you set up your machine, the data is speaking from the source. All your data sets is always up to date. So you don't need to stress yourself about refreshing. Then we also have what we call no need to store data in Power BI, which in a sense, it helps you to save your Power BI memory. So because the data is coming from the source, so that means that Power BI is not keeping a copy in its own engine. It's not keeping a record of the data set in its own engine. The data is picking from the source. And for that reason, it helps you save your Power BI memory. Now, it's always good for large data sets where importing is what is impractical. So that means that there are instances whereby you can't do without it. There are times whereby your stakeholders want to see, a few times, not always, maybe a few times they want to see what is happening in a particular, for a daily report, and they need the daily data set, just you to report something daily for them. And at that point where you have no choice, you just need to show them what is happening. Then you may have to also use the direct query mode, because when it comes to, we've spoken about this before in this class and in this training, that when it comes to your data set comes in granularity of the data, daily data. So there are times whereby you may need to give report of those data. You may then need to pick the data from the source. However, there are limitations. There are limitations to this. Now, because it's speaking from the source, that means there is high dependency on network. So it's highly depending on the network. If anything happens, if the network is not okay, it may also affect how your whatever data you need, it may affect the response of the data because it's speaking from the source. Now, this has happened several times. Server is down, something is not right with the server. You can be sure that you will not be able to see any reports. You will not even be able to see any data sets because the problem is from the source. So it's completely dependent on on network. Then the performance also rely on the source. The performance of your report, the performance of whatever you are doing, is dependent on is dependent on the source. So if anything is wrong from there, that means that it's going to affect whatever you are doing also. Also, we must note that when it comes to DAX modeling, is very, very limited. There are some DAX functions that you may not even be able to use. You may not even be to see your data whenever you load it using direct query mode in your report. You may not be able to see it in the datasheet view. So that means that DAX functionality may not be available for you to do whatever you want to do with data sets. Modeling is limited. And all and all. And because you are dealing with large data sets, of course, you should expect that there are times whereby the rate at which the data sets, whatever your request may be very low. So that also we must note that. And also, you cannot have your data offline, unlike import mode. Your data is always live. It's speaking from the source. So you cannot have your data offline because you are speaking directly from the source. So I'm going to show us how this works, and I'm going to go into Power Query now to show us how some of this work. But before that, I'll show us something in SQL. I'm going to show us these three data sets. We have a dimension table here. We have an aggregated table here, and we also have a FAT table here. The FAT table has about 56,000 records. So I'm going to show us how this works. I'm definitely going to be using these three data sets in this particular training. So let me go into Power BI. I'll just come to this place and let me open a blank Power BI. So what I will do is that I'm going to import, I will import this aggregate table, and I'll put it in import mode. I will make this a direct query. Now, why am I doing that? Because many times, I think it has been said before, again, I will remind some of us, we've done data aggregation in Power BI. Many times your stakeholders, they want to see how the business is doing. They want to see what is going on. And many times they needed either a quarterly report, a monthly report, or a weekly report just to monitor or to observe what how the business is growing and all. So many times what they will request for is they will request for an aggregated data set. You know, they will request for the year, the month. Okay, what have we sold? What are we not selling? They will compare the sales for this month and last month. Why are we doing well? Are we making progress? Are we not making progress? And for that reason, because this data set, the aggregate data set is a data set that may not really, maybe is a data set that will be requested once in a while, either by your stakeholder. Maybe you give a monthly report or you give a weekly report. So we will put the data set in what? In an import mode. So I'm going to use an import mode for this. Now, for the sales part table, this sales part table is a data that comes in daily. It's a daily report. A customer purchased something, the record is being kept here, goes down to this place. Like I said it again, let me say it again, that for many organizations, the stakeholders or whoever you are reporting to may not really be interested in what the returns the business brings in daily, really. Okay, what a customer purchased today, let's say we are talking about a supermarket or a mall, a supermarket store. Okay, a customer come and buy something today, most of them, in many instances, the manager, the MD, the owner of the business is not interested. Is okay, how much did the particular customer purchase today? Of course, there are instances where that may be needed, but in many cases, they are interested in what is happening monthly, weekly. They compare sales of this month in comparison to last month. So this data set, which is our FAT table, consists of granular data. So this data set, because we want to see what is happening daily, we will put this in in direct query mode. So as the data is being inputted, we are seeing it daily. Why this aggregated table is going to be in import mode. So let me go to Power BI. So I open this Power BI and I'm going to get data here. So I'm getting data from SQL Server, and I click connect. So I'm going to type in the name of the server. Let me just disconnect and connect this. So I'll copy the name of the server here. The database is SSIS_demo. So the connectivity mode, I'm going to set it as import mode. I'm importing the what? The aggregated table. So I will click OK. So if I click OK, it's going to take me to all the tables in that database. So this is the table I want to, well, it's a view anyway, sales aggregate. This is it. So I'm going to take it and then I'm going to click transform data. So the data set has been loaded because it's in import mode. Data set has been loaded into Power BI and Power BI already has a copy. So if you say, how did that happen? Don't worry, that's the way the machine is being built. So once this is loaded, I check the data type. It seems okay to me. Then I can then close and apply. So close and apply. So when I close and apply, why is it taking so long? How many records do we have here? Let me check. Okay, 144. So let's, by now it should have been loaded. Okay, our data is loaded. This is it here. You can see now, if you come to the data pane here, you will see that you will see the data. Now, if I place my mouse on it, you can see that I have the details about the table. I have the sales aggregates. The storage mode is what? Is import. And the data, the date in which data is being refreshed is this particular day. So another way to check the mode of my data set is to just come to the model view here. If you come to the model view here, if I place my mouse here also, I will see the details of the data set. If I click on it, I'll see the details. Now, you will come to properties here. In case you don't see this, you can expand this. When you come to properties here, you can also check advanced. When you check advanced here, you can see that the mode is in import mode. You can see that the mode is in import mode. Now, I'll still come and explain something to us here when we get to, when we use direct query and dual mode. One thing I want you to take note here is that, once we have our data in import mode, we cannot switch to any other mode. Once you bring in your data as import mode, we can't switch to any other mode. So it's important for you to know that. So basically, this is just it. So you can come to the data sheet view here, and then you click, you see the data, and you can do whatever you want to do, all sort of transformations in Power Query. You can do that. Whatever DAX you want to apply, calculated column, you are free to do that here. Now let's use the direct query mode to also bring in the sales fact table. So if I come to, so let me come to get data here. And I'm going to insert this and exercise demo. So here I'll specify direct query mode. I'll take the option here, the option button here. I'll take the option button as direct query mode, and I'm going to click what? OK. So I'll have to click, the name of the table is sales facts table. So I'll have to look for it. Okay, this is it. Okay, so I can click transform data. If I click transform data, mind you, this is direct query. So the data is directly picking from the source. So this is our data set, the direct query mode. So if I click close and apply, the data types looks okay. So I can click close and apply. Close and apply. Okay, so I can come to my model view here. Now look at what I'm saying. I was explaining something to you about this. If you look at the sales aggregate table, you can see the import mode sign. That sign shows that your data set is in import mode. The direct query mode has this sign, this arrow up, arrow down with a big box. And you also see that the edge of your data, the table, it's always blue. You can see it also shows that it's in import mode. Now, when we get to the dual mode, you also see the sign also. So this is our table. You can see when I click on it, it's on direct query mode. If I come to advanced here, if I click advanced, if I click on the table, I click advanced, you can see the table is in direct query mode. Now, from here, I can switch the data set from import mode. Yeah, but I'm not going to do that because if I switch to import mode, I may not be able to go back to direct query mode. But so if you're bringing your data set as a direct query mode, you can easily come to this place and switch to what? Import mode or dual mode. Now, if you click on our sales aggregate table, you'll see that we don't even have that option activated because it's not possible for us to be able to what? To be able to switch to what? To other mode. However, whenever you use direct query mode, you can easily switch from what? From the direct query mode to dual mode or to import mode. But I'm not going to do that here. I will do that when we get to using the dual or composite mode. So if I come to my data sheet view here and I click on AW Sales Path table, you can see that the table is not even showing here. The table cannot be shown because it's not in what? It's not in import mode. So which means that for whatever you are going to do, of course, when you come to display your data, to visualize them here, you will definitely have access to the data, but it's just that you are limited in terms of what you can do, with the data, in terms of using your DAX, calculated column. In fact, you cannot even see the data. So that option is even is already limited. So if I let me just select any sales amount, and then I display my sales amount by their product categories. So I can drag this to this. So I can definitely also visualize my data. However, I am limited in a way because I can't use this. I can't use this. I can't perform calculated column. I'm limited in even seeing my data from the data sheet view here. So I may have to go to the Power Query to check what is going on in the data set. So that's basically the way the direct query mode works. And remember what I said, that the direct query mode deals with large data sets. Many times, your FAT table, actually, in many cases, your FAT table is usually in direct query mode. Your FAT table is usually in direct query mode. And the reason is because, of course, there may be instances, like I said, whereby you may just need to generate reports for your stakeholders on what is happening daily. It happens on a few occasions from my experience. Maybe an expert in the house can say something more to that or can add a few things to that. However, in most cases, your import mode is what you use to do your visuals and to display what is really going on about the business. Now let's talk about the third mode. Like I said, if you have questions, please note them down while I'm speaking, so that at the end of the class we'll be able to look into it together. Now, the next mode is composite mode. Now, this composite mode is also called the dual mode. So dual mode is a distinct mode that combines the benefit of both import and direct query mode. So now what this is saying is that there are times whereby your data set may actually needs to act as both import and both direct query mode. Now, many of those instances happen when a data is needed to be connected to a table that is import mode, and at the same time, the table is also direct query mode. So in those instances, you have to put your table, you have to bring it into Power BI in form of a dual mode. With dual mode, you can import the data set needed and also still use additional data that is not available in the import data. So the dual mode basically just combines the benefits of both the import mode and also the benefit of the direct query mode. It's best used hybrid with frequently and infrequently use of data, large enterprise model with mixed refresh needs. Now, in many cases, your dimension table actually is usually in dual mode. Your dimension table is usually in dual mode because the same dimension table will be connected to your sales aggregate table, your aggregate table, and the same dimension table will also be connected to your fact table. So many times, in many instances, so that whenever there's an update in the dimension table, it's going to be updated. And whenever the dimension table also needed to act as an import, is going to also perform that duty. Now look at the picture I have here. Now we have our sales aggregate here is an import mode connected to what? To a dimension table, a dimension date table. Maybe I should zoom this. So this sales aggregate is connected to what? To this table because it may need to act as what? As an import table. And at the same time also, the table is also connected to our fact table, which will act as what? As a direct query mode. So there are times whereby your table needs to be connected. When a table needs to be connected to both import and a direct query table, a direct storage mode table, that means that table needed to be, the storage mode for that table needed to be on composite or dual mode. And if you look at the dual mode table here, which we have here, you will see that it has both the sign for the composite or dual mode. It has both the direction of the direct query and it has a shaded background representing an import mode. Then the edge of the table also is showing some shady signs, which also indicate that the particular table is in form of dual mode. So let's go into Power BI and let's try and bring in this our dimension table into Power Query. So basically, this table just gives a description of more details of a product, of the product. So this product, we have the product in our sales table here. We have the product key here. We also have the product key in our fact table. So you can connect this dimension table both to our sales aggregate table here, and we can also connect it to our fact table. So to bring in our data, in a dual mode. So what we are going to do is we go to Power BI. We go to Power BI as usual. We come to get data, and I'm going to get data from SQL. Then I'm going to paste my server name as usual and connect to my database. Now, for me to use the dual mode, I will have to bring in the data as a direct query mode. So when I bring in the data as a direct query mode, then I can then switch to what? Switch to dual mode. Remember that I showed you that whenever your data comes in as an import mode, there is no way you can switch that data to what? To a dual mode. So I'm going to bring in the data as the direct query mode. I'm going to come to my model. Okay, I'll select the data. The name of the table is dim product. Okay, this is it. Transform data. So the data type looks fine. I can close and apply. So you always get this warning, this potential security risk warning, but don't worry, just click OK. Everything is fine. Are you guys still with me? Hello?
Yes, we are here. Yes, we are here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to click on my model view here. So when I click on my model view, so this is now this table comes in as direct query, right? So if I'm going to change it to a dual mode, I'll just have to click here because I want this table to be connected to this import, this import table, and at the same time this dual table. So I can just click here. Now, of course, when you place your mouse on it, you definitely see the details about the table. Storage mode is what? The direct query and all. The name of the server, the database, and all. So if I click here, I come to properties here. Then I click advanced. So I can then switch to what? Dual mode. And I click OK. So when I switch to dual mode, you can see that look at the logo beside the dim products. So it's a combination of what? Our import and what? Direct query sign, direct query logo. You can also see that the edge is also marked with a shaded color. So that indicates that our table is in direct query mode. So this table now, these are dimension table now, because it's going to be serving two different kinds of table, both direct query and import. I'm going to drag the product key. Do we have the product key here? Oh, we don't have. I guess there's a mistake. This should be product category key, not product key. Anyway, we can still create a relationship with that. So then I can also drag it here with the product key here. I'm being dragged here. So I'm going to click save. So this table now is serving as a dual mode. It's serving two purposes. So it's connected to this, which is a direct query mode. It's also connected to this, which is what? Which is import mode. So, like I said, whenever you have tables that is going to serve this kind of purpose, then that table should be in what? In dual mode. So from here now, I can definitely come to my visual here and then let me just generate a simple visual. Come to my sales and then come to my, just select the product name since we don't have the product name yet. Now I'm able to have access to this table because of the relationship I have here. So I can pick the product name here because I've linked this with this, because I've built a I've linked a relationship with it. So I can do that here. So basically that's how it works. So that's just how the storage mode works. So in summary, there are three types. We have the import, we have the direct query, we have the dual mode. The import keeps a record of your data in Power BI. The second is the direct query mode, picks the data from the source. The third is used in instances whereby a table needs to perform the responsibility of being an import mode and also being a direct query mode. And in many instances, because that table is being connected to two different tables. Okay, so I don't know if anybody has a question. I know some of us may have a question, so we can we can ask our question. But before we go on, I hope it's clear so far. Okay. Adeni Samson, your hand is raised. Oh yeah, please, you can unmute and speak.
Okay, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for this explanation. Yeah, everything is clear, but I just have one question. When you explain the direct mode, you said
Okay.
table, we can't view the table. But for the dual mode, can we view the table on the dual mode?
Yes, you can. You can. So this is the dual table. You can definitely see. Like I said, because it's acting both as import and as dual, so you can definitely see it.
So
this is the dual mode, this is the direct query, and this is the import mode. So if I switch this table now to a direct query mode, which if I switch my sales file table to a direct query mode, you will definitely see it. And because if I come to this and I switch it to select this, scroll down here, I click advanced, I select dual, and I click OK. Now, this is not always the best practice because, and the reason is because our sales fact tables, like we all know what it entails. So usually our sales fact table, if you want it to be a real-time data and updated data, it has to be connected directly to the source. So if I do this now, you definitely see it in the datasheet view here. You can see it here. This is it. You can definitely see it here. So I can come back to the model view and I can switch back to direct query. But if I direct query mode and I click, direct query, is not switching. Okay, click OK. So direct query mode. So this is direct query mode. However, let me do something. If I bring this table as import, okay, let me use this small table. If I use this table as import, I won't be able to switch back to dual mode. I won't be able to switch back to any mode if I use this table. So you can try that on your own, but I don't want to. If you change this to what import mode, that means that this you can't be able to switch. You definitely have something like this, and you won't be able to switch back to what to dual mode. Okay, any other question, please?
Okay. So in that case, once it's in a dual mode, that means we can perform any DAX operation we like. There is no limitation to the DAX.
Now, many times, like I said, that's why I said something. I said that whenever you are working with your data sets, now understand the kind of table you are dealing with. Then you also need to understand what you are trying to do. Now, for this sales aggregated table, your aggregated table is based on what is happening on your file table. Of course, it depends on how you bring in. So if I'm bringing this from SQL, that means that I must have, if you look at the query I have here, this query, I have aggregated the aggregated table. You understand? So your aggregated table, definitely it's the aggregated table gave you a summary. The word aggregation means a consolidation of your data set. So it's a consolidation of what has happened here. Basically, that's what it means. So it is a summary of what has happened here. And if you remember, I said that many times stakeholders are interested in what is happening monthly, weekly, and all and all. However, what we have here is based on what we have on our sales fact table. So we don't give report on, yes, the report we are giving here is dependent on what we have, the information. The report we are giving on our sales aggregate is dependent on the information we have on our sales fact table. So that is why when you are bringing in this data, because this data, you are most likely you will be refreshing it maybe once in a month, or quarterly, depending on the requirement needed by your stakeholder. However, this is a daily data that comes in regularly. Forget the fact that we have like a limited data set here. If you are working in a production environment, it's always a large data set. And because you're also considering the performance of such kind of data on your Power Query, on your Power BI, then it's better you put it in what? In direct query mode. Such that if you want to aggregate your data set, then you aggregate it here. However, there may be instances whereby your manager, your inline manager, or stakeholder needed something about a daily report, maybe a visualization of a daily report. At that time, of course, you don't have any choice than to just, okay, make a compromise and do whatever you want to do, provided that, the data set, in fact, of course, you definitely have experience of how the data set will slow at all. But at that point in time, you just need to find a way to present your data, to visualize the data they want from this particular table. But best practice is that most of the data set you have on your sales aggregated table here is from this place, and is being summarized or consolidated in your sales aggregate table. So you may have a lot of aggregation that is being connected to a dimension table. Beyond the three I am showing you here, you may have a lot of tables that are being connected to this particular dimension table. I don't know if you understand, or I don't know if I get your question right.
I get.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Last one.
Okay.
Okay. So you talk about the refresh. So does that mean if the table is on direct query or direct mode, does that mean I don't need to click on the refresh again? The table will just automatically refresh all the time?
If it's on direct query mode, whenever you log into your Power BI, automatically the updated data set is going to be updated. You will see it. You will see the results in your sales part table.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry, can I add to that a little?
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Isaiah. Wonderful section. For the question you asked, so it depends on the performance of the source, right? The underlying performance of the data source for that direct query table will determine whether it's going to be real time or it's going to be near real time. So there's what we call real time, there's what we call near real time. So near real time means that it might be maybe a minute behind, it might be 5 minutes behind, it might even be 10 minutes behind. You understand me, sir? But it all depends on the performance of the source itself. Also determine how it's going to perform inside of Power BI. I mean, for the direct query. And you also asked something about refreshing direct query tables. So you can still refresh direct query tables. For example, if you want to revalidate, probably you want to revalidate the data source, that you want to be sure that, okay, the columns you have, they are still the columns that maybe there's a new column added to that table, and you need to revalidate it. You can actually do a refresh on a direct query table. So you can still do a refresh. There are several reasons why one might want to refresh what's it called? One might want to refresh a direct query table. Just hold on, please. Give me a minute. I wrote down something somewhere. Where is this? I can't see where I wrote this thing down now. Okay, so sometimes when you also do a refresh on direct query table, anytime any of your visuals that you have in your reports, they are sending a query to the data source, right? Whatever the data source that it is. And Power BI always cache that query for performance. So when we say caching, it means that it's like Power BI is storing that query, right? So that it's not every time it has to go to the source again to redo that thing, right? So if you want to clear the cache and you want it to start like afresh, then that's another reason why you might want to refresh a direct query table. So it's sometimes either near real time or it's either real time, depending. And there's also something I read here that talks about uh, you can be refreshing the visuals of you can be refreshing the visuals of, like, there's some visuals that are connected to a direct query table, right? And you can still be refreshing those visuals. So there's something on the what do we call this thing? Format pane. There's settings that you can do that you can determine the refresh interval of those visuals to be maybe like 5 minutes interval or whatever interval you want it to, right? So this will also control the way even though this is direct query, you can also control the way the auto refresh for the visuals, how it's working. So that's my contribution.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. So Isaiah, let's try something. I don't know if we can try it. You can go to the what do we call this thing? Sir? Report page. I mean report Canva. The report Canva. Let's try something. Let's maybe that settings that I said can work. Can you bring a column from the one that has direct query mode? Can you drag in one of the columns like?
You need to visualize it or?
Yes, visualize it. Just do like a drag and drop. And we'll now try that settings out. Maybe it's going to work. Just maybe reading something and testing the real life this thing.
So this is
Which one of them is on direct?
this is direct query.
Okay, let's bring sales amount.
Mm.
Sales amount, and maybe let's bring maybe territory, anything, any of the dimension. Just bring in anyone.
Can you see my screen?
Yes. So
So
go to that format, but what's it called? Beside visualizations.
okay.
That format pane, I mean, what do we call it? That one we do settings on a visual now. No. Beside visualization, not that one. Oh, yes, that one. Okay, go to page refresh section. Scroll down. Is there anything like page refresh?
There's not such.
Can go to general. Let's see. Go to general. Still on that format visual.
Okay.
Yes. No. Still on that format. Format your visual. Is there anything like that?
There's no such.
It's nothing like that. Okay, no, but maybe we'll
It's
try it out
here.
in the next
Sorry
class.
to interrupt. Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
It's here. Scroll down to the last. Down.
Okay.
I'll scroll down. This is the last.
Yes, to the last. Go down.
Your screen is not showing that you're
Ah.
scrolling. You scroll to the
This
last.
is the okay. Oh, sorry. What can you see on my screen?
Okay, I think you are there now. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the. I've
There's the
scrolled down.
place you see page refresh.
It's not
I
showing
can't.
here.
Your this thing is not working accordingly, so I can't see
You're
where.
scrolling back
Just
and
look for
forth.
page refresh.
I'm not seeing page refresh here. Oh. It's not showing here. It's not showing here. Oh.
Okay.
Sorry, where
Let me
I think it's
open
just
it.
probably because you have selected a chart, a visual. So try to click the page and see.
Sorry, come again. Please, can you come again?
This you can you are clicking on a visual, that
Okay.
is why. So click outside any visual and
Click
check
outside.
again.
Okay, on Canva. Okay. Okay. Mr. Bent, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
See it there.
So this is the page refresh you're talking
This is
about.
it. Yes.
And you can put for 5 seconds.
So expand it now.
and
You can exactly. This is what I was talking about.
So I was clicking on this initially. It wasn't showing. So I had to click the page report page. Canva.
Yes, it's there. So you can, I think it's yes. So you can decide to manage the auto refresh of the visuals, even though they are connected to a direct query table. Is it clear to us?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's clear, sir. Please, I have a question.
Okay,
My
sir.
hand has been up for a question.
Yes,
now.
good evening.
Let Onyinye is number one on the way I'm seeing on the screen.
Okay.
It's not my section, it's Isaiah's section. So it's space Isaiah.
I don't know if it's beyond the scope of the class. This direct query mode, I want to know how it can be published. If you set up that refreshing time, this is desktop. How do you now publish it for users to use? And what are the limitations depending on your license? I don't know if
I think this is going to be it should be an open response because I've never had that. What you just said now is not something I've ever tried before. So I think people should speak to this. Let this be an interactive one.
Yes, I think publishing a report based on direct query, is it not supposed to be just straightforward the way you can publish any other report? Since you already have access to the data, then you can always publish your report on it. So
Sorry to interrupt. Are you guessing or you know for sure?
yes, I don't even know. Yes, that's even what I want to. My question that I wanted to ask is something related to that, because I've always been working on direct query. So I wanted to ask if this limitation of you can perform DAX query on a direct query data storage mode and you can visualize it. I wanted to ask if it is based on the data source, because I've always been working on direct query, but from data flow and data verse majorly, and I can do all these things with it. So, but the only thing that is similar is on the data view. So I won't be able to see the overview of the table, just like I saw here now. But I can always put my data on table visuals if I really need the overview so bad and I don't want to go to Power Query. So I don't know if
Okay,
that is
let me answer. Let me just put the answer for the two of you together. I don't need to answer separately. Let me just join the answer together. So I think for Mr. Jamiu, I think what he's looking at is he has been working with direct query for some time now, but he needs to like understand some of the implications of using direct query. For Onye is more of what happens post publish, like after publishing, what happens? What is the cost implication for a company if you are using direct query tables, and probably is there a type of license? Did I get your question well, the two of you? Sorry, just to be clear before I answer. Did I get the question well?
Yeah, I think that's our own question.
Okay.
But it's me, I've not answered.
No, I mean, did I get your question well from what I said?
Yeah, so my one is how to publish it.
Okay.
There is a okay.
Okay. How to publish it, Avi? Okay.
Yes, in a
So,
way that your people will receive it the way you set it up here. Because there's an admin thing around direct query that whatever you set here and your admin doesn't allow, even what you
okay.
set here will not work. So that is not clear to me.
Okay. So let's everybody, as we are on this call now, let's do a little research on what the admin person will do. I don't know that though about what because I've not really been that person using direct query like that. You understand? But I'll just quickly talk about some of the cost implications in terms of let's talk post publishing and let's talk about the compute and some of the compute and performance considerations for direct query. So when you use direct query, number one, I showed okay, there's something I see showing on the screen now about the page refresh. And by default, what we see here is 30 minutes auto page refresh, right? So for if you are doing only auto page refresh that is lesser than 30 minutes, right? We need to have Power BI Premium or Pro licensing, right? For us to okay, I think okay, so let me put it this way. So for uh auto page refresh, like less than 30 minutes, we need premium capacity. Do we understand? Okay. For pro capacity, like you are using Power BI Pro, right? The refresh intervals they are limited, unlike what you have in a premium capacity, right? Okay. So in terms of the cost implication of using direct query post publishing, I mean, after you have published it to Power BI service now, you know that for every visual is a query in the sense that for it to update, it has to always go back to the source because it's connected directly to the source. So Power BI is not catching anything. Power BI is not saving anything in memory, right? So for every change you make, for every time an update happens, it's always going back to the source. So the problem with that is that if there are a lot of users um, that are using that report, that they are maybe you are doing like self-service or they are always going there to do one or two things, it has to always go to the source and query the source. So that can cause it to quickly overwhelm that source because a lot of people are, they are on that, they are overloading that source. So the data warehouse or the database or wherever the data source is can easily be overwhelmed because there's a lot of people that are you know, doing stuff on that report. Because for everybody that checks that report, they do stuff on that report. It's always sending back. It's like you are, newly querying something, right? It's like you're newly querying the source, and it can. So if it's now cloud, no, that now imagine that is on-prem data source now. Now imagine that the kind of cloud source that you are using is pay per query, right? Maybe you're using a paper query. That will really cost a lot if you are using the direct query table and people are always going there to do stuff, checking the reports, refresh sheets, add some other stuff to it, and it's always going back to the source to always query the source again at every time. It's going to really, bring the cost to a very high level because of the kind of volume of the queries that is being applied to that source. So post publishing, uh it might be costly to use. It might break down the source if it's getting overwhelmed quickly because it's connected directly to the source, and at every time people do stuff, maybe you even open it for the first time, or for you are reopening the reports in multiple occasions, and stuff like that, it will. So there's a cost implication on that, right? In terms of compute, in terms of compute, because it's querying the source in real time, right? So the behavior of that your query, that's your visuals and everything, is also depending on the performance of the source. But no matter how the source is highly performant, even though there will always be issues like slow queries, timeouts, because there are people that are concurrently using that data or that visual or that report, and there's a lot of querying going on. So imagine now that you have 15 visuals in your report, right? It means that one visual is one query, right? Imagine now having 10 users, right? That is 150 queries, right? At different time or at the same time, right? Um, so if you set your auto refresh to really be like very close intervals, it's really will be causing a lot of constant traffic on your data source, right? So those are the things that I said I would talk about. So for direct query, just like Isaiah said, you need to have good network, right? Uh Good network, and I'll talk about some other things, but let me allow others to talk. Jide Babatunde and Follow Sean say something.
Good evening, Mr. Gbenga. God will bless you. You will not die young. Like way will be open for you. The door that the merciful door that I did not knock will be open for you. Good thing will be happen to you. Good thing will be happen to you. You know, like you talk about something now. Like if you know something on Power BI, we say that upgrade to Pro. Like I've been facing this issue since on Thursday. Like I'm doing one reconciliation account. So suddenly, so when I refresh, you just say upgrade to Pro. So like I meet the IT guy, they don't understand what is going on. So me, I just tell them that this stuff need upgrading. They say like, am I the only one doing the reconciliation? Like the rest of people are doing it. Why am I now brought up upgrade to Pro? So we have been facing the issues till Thursday. But God now do it. Now talk about it. So I've learned something new. So that's why I just pray for you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Is that what Sean?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So yeah, thank you very much, Isaiah. I really enjoyed the class, and Mr. Gbenga, thanks for the contribution. So
Yes,
I think there's I don't know how it works, but one thing that I know is that if you are using a pro, you can only refresh Power BI 8 times in a day, your report. And if you are using a premium license, you can refresh 48 times in a day, which is about 30-minute interval if you are using it. So in terms of cost implication, I don't know, maybe there should be any additional cost because there's a limit to how the Power BI can even refresh initially based on your license. So, but I don't know how these direct query, this page refresh is going to affect. I'm not sure whether it's going to affect the cost because there's a limit on the license already. It can't go beyond 48 hours. If you can't go beyond 48 times if you are using premium. And if you are using pro, it can't go beyond 8 in a day. But now, if you now say, let's assume that someone is using pro license. You are using pro license and you now set 30 minutes for your for your Power BI to refresh. So maybe after your 8th refresh has completed for your pro, that means that you cannot refresh again. I don't know, but maybe we have to just do it. But one thing that I know is that for pro, it's 8 times per day, and for premium, it is 48 times per day for refresh.
That's
okay. Go on. I think someone wants to say something.
This is where my question comes in. If premium will let me do only 48 times, and I set my direct query page refresh to 10 seconds, how will you work together?
If it's 10 seconds, so you
And
need premium.
Why to do 10 seconds when you know
no,
that?
but if okay,
Go on.
it's what I wanted to say. If I put 10 seconds and I can only do 30 minutes with the premium license, how would they work together? That's where the disconnect is in my head.
Oh, I think I understand.
Do you
Maybe
get?
Mr. Genga. Yeah, I understand you. Mr. Genga, do you want to help?
And I do not think that, okay, let me start being that.
So let me tell you something, Winnie. This 8 refresh per day that Mr. Flonjo was talking about is only affects import mode tables.
Oh, okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
It's only tables that are in import mode that it affects, and not direct query data set or tables.
Okay.
Do you understand it now?
Yes.
So the fact that you are using Pro and you can only refresh 8 times, that applies to only import mode table. Doesn't apply to. So if you now, so the standard is that if your auto page refresh interval, for example, your visuals, if they are 30 minutes, Pro is still fine, even though there's still some kind of limitations, sure. But this is just like part 1 of storage. Storage mode is very deep in Power BI. Do you understand? This is just like part 1 of it, and Isaiah has given us a very good foundation. By the time we come for the next, it's not because next week we are starting dark, so it might not even be like in the next 3 classes that we'll talk about storage mode again. We'll still come back to it, but now we will now bring different use cases, and it will now be like an interactive section. Everybody will contribute, think about it, what will be the best practice, and all those things. Is it clear, Onye? And I said you something as an answer to the question you asked about what would the Power BI admin do to allow me to be able to use a direct query table. I've sent that to your
I've seen it.
Yes. So I think that should answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
My question has not been answered, sir.
So this
limit, Mr. Isaiah, please. This limitation of not being able to perform to create measures with a data that is on direct query. Is it source based? Is it peculiar to some source? Because I always work with direct query and I do create measures a lot. So I don't know. So hearing that, but my own source is usually Dataverse and Dataflow.
Okay. So let me contribute to that, sir, in 2 minutes. So when we say issues with that with direct query, we are not saying that you cannot write that. So. Do you understand, sir? But we are only saying that if that DAX is becoming too complex, it's not going to work well. It's going to affect the performance, right? You should write DAX that invariably we can write an equivalent SQL query, for example, that can return that logic you are trying to write out in your DAX, in your expression. Do you understand? So you can write that expressions, but that's expressions that even in SQL you can still write an SQL query that is equivalent to that DAX.
Okay. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So by the time you start using some of the limitations in terms of DAX that are not supported for direct query. For example, if you are using earlier, today. Do you understand? Today, now, all those kind of time intelligence DAX, today, now, right? Things like related or related table, complex logic, when you're using variables or complex logic, all those things are not supported if you're using direct query. Things like user relationship is partially supported but not fully supported in direct query. When you are doing when you're trying to do like row level security and you're using things like part item, it's going to be a problem. So these are like few examples of what's it called? DAX that are not supported in direct query. But so far you can write your DAX, make it as simple as possible, and there can be an equivalent SQL query to that DAX. Then you are good.
Okay.
Is it clear? Yes.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. ASD.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Benga, and our teacher, thank you very much. God bless you. Please, I want to ask, also in the line of what Mr. Jami just spoke about, what now happens in a situation whereby you need to perform some kind of complex tasks, yet you need to have the reports in real time, which means you may need to make use of direct query. So what now happens? And you also need to write complex tasks. What happens? What do you do? Hello.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, maybe let me just add to that, to your question. So when you said complex tasks, I really did not understand the complex. But one thing that I know is that the reason why most of these things that we are actually doing with Power BI, writing a complex task or something, you can actually do most of these things in SQL, which is from your data source. So probably you have to create a column that you want to use to solve. It's just the reason why most of the time, maybe the BI developer, is because we don't have access to the source data. And when you don't have access to the source data, what you can do in that regard is that probably speak to your data engineer. Oh, you want to create this kind. If the person is relatable anyway, some people might be kind of, might not be able to relate with them. So if it is something you can relate with your engineers, oh, I want to create this thing and it's a bit complex for me to do. They can do it for, create an additional column for you on the data source. Or you go to Power Query and create maybe a kind of a column that can make it easier for you to create the DAX. You understand? Because I don't think there should be any DAX that will be so complex that SQL cannot do, or you should not be able to even break it down within Power Queries.
Okay. So what you're saying is that it's better if we're in such case, we should write the DAX in SQL form before bringing in the data, right?
Possible, yeah, if possible. Because I feel like all these, most of the DAX we are writing, you can still translate it in SQL terms, or there might even be some M code that we can even use to break them,
Of course.
Exactly. So you don't need to be writing complex. Most of the time when we write complex DAX, I feel like sometimes it's as a result of even bad data modeling, or something. Those are the reasons why we most time we write complex DAX. That should not even be more complex the way we normally do it. But I don't know, Mr. Gwenga, I don't know whether you want to add to this.
Sorry, I went out when he was asking the question. Can I get the question again? Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
The question I asked, which Mr. Follow should have actually answered in a good way, is that what happens if you need to write some complex DAX, but yet your report need to be real-time, which means you are using direct query. What happens?
So I've said it earlier that you should try to make your logic as simple as possible, in a way that we can write the equivalent SQL query for that same thing.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
But I talked about the implication of that also on the performance of the source and overloading the source.
Yes.
So if the logic is too complex, I told you that for every DAX, for every visual refresh, it's seen as one query. So it means that at every time if somebody opens the report, somebody plays with the report, that means that your DAX is also a query that's sending a request to the source, and the course will have to process it at every time.
Yes.
So I believe that if your model is good, you don't need to write a lot of complex DAX that will now slow the performance of the auto refresh of your visuals. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Isaiah, you are in charge, please.
Okay. I think all questions have been responded to, and I don't think there's anything left, except if you still have people that have questions.
Is there anyone that have questions? Anybody?
Okay, like Mr. Nuga said that there's so much to storage mode, and that it would be good for each and every one of us to go back and also look into some of these things that has been discussed and study more, so that when next we are also trying to discuss another dimension of this topic, we can be able to impart ourselves and share good ideas. So I think that is all for now. I don't think I have anything. Except if there's any announcement from Mr. Benga.
Thank you, Mr. Isaiah. So for next week, we are starting DAX. Starting DAX fully, and that will go for almost we are still going to come back to storage mode, though, and we're still going to probably start working on the first project. So the first project will not involve anything DAX, and I'm not sure though. But let's see how it goes anyway. So we are going to start our first project. So Gift, I hope the group 1, group 2, all those things are still intact.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give us our assignment, and I want you guys to bring out your pen and bring out your jotter or notebook to write some things down. So I want some people to be on the panel for this. I want follow show number 1. I want Abdullah Ahmed. I want you. That means any group you are, you cannot contribute to that group for this project. Can you hear me, Abdullah?
Yes, I am following.
Yes, you and Follow on Show will stand as a judge for this project. You're going to like evaluate people's work, see what they've done, whether they followed best practices, and you're going to mark them, give them a rating on their group. So you guys have to do. You don't have to be involved in any of the group that you are. You are now a judge for this little project that will start. I call it very little because we are still going to work on an end-to-end project that will involve everything. But we are starting with our first project. So this is how it's going to go. So number 1, this is the first thing, the first highlight of the project. Number 1, generate artificial data. Generate artificial data. In bracket, you can put supply chain and logistics. Have you written that? Let me know if you are following. Somebody still hear me? Okay. So generate artificial data, in brackets, supply chain and logistics for XYZ company, and it should have the following tables. It should have the following tables. Number one, there should be a table. There should be a table that tracks goods that comes in to the warehouse. I won't give you the table name. I won't tell you whether it will be a dimension or whatever. You are going to be the one to set all of that things up. You are going to be the one to identify. So it must have one table that shows goods brought into the warehouse. There should be another table that will show that's number 2 now, number table B, that will show goods that are going out of the warehouse. Is that clear? Should I go to number 3? Number 3, create a table that has a list of all the suppliers / vendors / what do we usually call themselves? What do we call these people that work with all these just write suppliers and vendors or distributor. Create a table that has a list of suppliers / vendors / distributor. Number 4, you create a table that has a list of all the procurement managers and their different areas of specialization.
Sir, please repeat what you just said.
Create a table that has a list of all the procurement managers and their area of specialization. So let me just give you a little hint. You can have some procurement managers that are in charge of beverages and blah blah blah. You can have some that are in charge of perishable goods. You can have some in charge of electronics. So we can just create that artificial table. That's the list of all the list of all the what's it called? What do we call them? The procurement managers and their different areas. So you can have multiple procurement manager in a particular area of specialization. Is that part clear? That's table 4 now, right? Table 5.
Sir, please repeat that number 4, please. I didn't get it.
I said a list of procurement managers and their different area of specialization. And I'll give you an hint that you can have a procurement manager in perishable goods, a procurement manager in electronics. You can have one in beverage and all of those things. You can have multiple procurement managers in one area of specialization. You can have manager A, manager B, manager C, and they are all in one area of specialization. So just do that. Making table 4 now. Table 5. Create another table for the pricing department. So the pricing department, they are the ones in charge of determining what they are the ones that will determine the selling price. So that means they have to work hand in hand with the procurement guys to get the cost price. Then they can determine the selling price. So make sure that table, the 5th table, the pricing table, has make it look like it's not changing dimension. So it must have STD type 2. STD type 2. The pricing table must have STD type 2. It means that it must show changes in prices for different products. So at so dates, the prices of this one changed. So however you want to do it, the interval of the change of price, I don't want to know. Just create it in a dynamic way. Make it, interesting. So if a pricing table, for the pricing department that has information about changes in price for different products. Now, table 6. Table 6, we have a list of all the products category and their subcategory. You can do something like that. Table 6 is about products, list of all the products. Right. Table 7. Table 7. You are going to generate a table that has a list of all the customers. You can also apply STD type 2 to the customers table also. There might be different, it depends on anyhow you want to do it. Your group, you and your group members should decide. So you can have maybe customer change their name, customer change their email, customer change their address, depending on what kind of STD, how you want to apply the SCD. Depending on how you want to apply your SCD. Just make it interesting, make it look dynamic. List of all the customers. Then the last, did I call it the last? The last table is now going to be a sales table. It's now going to be a sales table. It's not going to be a sales table. So for the sales table, generates the data. It should not be less than, the sales table should not be less than 1 million rows. For the sales table, it should not be less than 1 million rows. Right? So making how many tables now altogether? Sorry, guys. How many tables now?
8.
8 tables. Thank you.
Yes,
8
it's
tables.
yes.
Now, you guys are now going to develop 2 schema. You develop a snowflake schema and you develop a star schema. After you have all your tables, you develop 1 snowflake and 1 star schema. That's the assignment. Now, the third highlight of the assignment is this. You must make sure, you can write it down, develop a snowflake and star schema. Make sure that from your transformation to the way the data is being connected, you follow best practices for optimization. The transformation in your whatever normal form you apply so you are not writing any dark in this assignment. It's just testing your data model skills. So different departments in an organization, how they connect to each other. Pricing, so procurement connect to pricing connect to customer service connect to sales. Inventory too is in the middle where the goods comes in and goes out. So you will draw do that. You will draw out that model. Now, the tricky part of this assignment is that after you have done all of this, the next thing that you will do is that you will do documentation. You will document the whole process. You will document it. Do we understand that part?
Yes, sir.
You will talk about your data sources, your metadata, your conceptual model, your what's it called? You will just give a brief description. So you will talk about your logical model also, all the columns, their data type, everything. You will document everything. It's not a small work, and you must finish this thing in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks. So you document your data sources. You document the background to the. So you do a little background to the project. That one should not be less than. Should not be more than maybe max 1 page on your Word document application. So the background to the project, you talk about your data sources, how many tables you are using, your conceptual model, your logical model, your metadata. Talk about your transformations, how you were able to apply best practices, query folding, optimization techniques, all of those things, your data connectivity, blah, blah, blah. You document things like your storage mode. What storage mode did you apply? Why did you apply that storage mode? So we talk about the business process now. Here you talk about how the different departments are connected to each other, right? And their level of dependency also, right? So pricing will depend on procurement, customer service and sales will depend on pricing. Why am I even giving you the hint, Seth? Let me stop. So you guys will come up with a very well formatted well-prepared documentation that will show your processes up to, talk even to your cardinality that you used, the type of relationship, how tables are connected to each other. You tell us whether you did some denormalization, whether you applied normalization, everything that you are doing. And sincerely, for every group that will do their own very well, there is special a special treat that will be like an award for them. So it's not just in your documentation, but also in your presentation of this project. So when I can ascertain that yes, you guys understand this thing very well. It's not just talking. We have you are talking. We have to also be doing it so that it can stick, right? So that is that. And on the day of the presentation, I will not say anything, or I'll just do final contribution. The major people that will be the judge is Folorunso and Abdullah Ahmed. That will be the judge. So they are going to also do it on their side, and they will follow all the best practices, and they will not show anybody. And based on what they have done, I will discuss with them. Then we can set up. We can now highlight how we are going to grade the different groups based on what they have done. So, if there's any group member, the last time some people left for a while, we brought them back. This time around, there's nothing like that. So this time around, every group member is expected to be active on this project. You must contribute. It's not like you will leave some people to do it and you will go and be relaxing. There's nothing like that. Every group member must agree on the dates that you'll be meeting in a week to start this project. Assign tasks to everybody. Everybody must be assigned tasks to. You assign the tasks to you. If there's any group member that is not contributing anything, the captain should let me know. It's very important. In this class, we are very strict and we are serious. And this is the stage that we are getting to, the very serious stage of the class. Modeling, that and all those things. So we must ascertain that you actually grab, you guys are, you understand the concepts, even in application. Mr. Folorunso.
Okay, so just quick one. So I think personally, that the number of people in each of the group are too much. For this project, for this specific project, maybe we can reduce it to like maybe a group of 5 people so that everybody will be active.
Okay,
Because,
it should be a group of 5.
Yeah, if you leave it for like 15 people, a quite number of people will still not be active. So if it's just 5 people on a project, at least all hands should be on. Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good suggestion though. I'll talk to the captains to reshuffle the groupings so that it can be 5 per group. But I'm just looking at the day of presentation. It's not going to choke. Or let's make it 7. We can make it 7 per group. So gifts. Are you there? Isaiah? Is Denike here?
I'm here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about Nike? Okay. Sorry. So let's make it 7. You guys can reshuffle the group. Please, I want my captains to do that in March, Tuesday. The new group and the list of names should be ready. Listed on the WhatsApp group. Please. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
thank you,
that's the project, guys. Elsie.
Sorry, good evening, Mr. Benga.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, is there
Yeah.
a one-way
approach to this assignment, or
There is no
can
approach,
come up
man.
with?
Do it the way you
Okay.
feel is the best.
Okay. All right.
That's why I'm saying that you should be the one to generate the data by yourself.
Because what I was asking is generating data set, you can use SQL. So I just wanted to know,
Do
can
anyway you
someone
generate
go
the data, whether you use AI or use SQL, just generate data.
Okay.
But where the work is the work is in your documentation. It's in your documentation. Exactly. There's nothing. See you guys next week Sunday. So you guys have to submit this assignment 3 weeks from now. 1, 2, 3. By Sunday, 15th of June. By Sunday, 15th of June, we want to present the assignments. Or let me just this is a small assignment now. Don't let me say I want to expand change the dates. 15 should be 16. 15 is still okay to me. This is okay. It is okay. 15th of June, guys, is when we are submitting. Thank you, guys. See you next week Sunday. Let's start and write. Let's come and start writing some DAX. Abdulaziz.
Yeah. I wanted to ask some questions regarding this assignment. So first is the creation of data sets.
Yeah.
Aside using AI, I'm not really sure because AI itself definitely creates problems while creating 1 million.
That is why the way you prompt it, you have to know how to prompt it to give you exactly what you want now. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. But at the same time, a million rows of sales table.
Mr. Abdulaziz, I don't want to know how you do it. Just do it. Don't trouble me with how you're going to do it. I don't know. Just do it. Find a way.
Okay.
Or is there another thing apart from the 1 million thing that is giving you headache?
Oh, okay. I see. There's only caveat on the sales table. What about the others? Like, are there the number of procurements?
I'm giving you guys free will to do it the way you want.
Okay.
Sincerely, there's no. I'm not rigid on there. Just make sure that whatever you are doing, you do it well. You use the best approach. You follow best practices, optimization techniques. Your model is clean, fine, self-explanatory. You apply a good normalize anything. Just do it. Just explain it. Whatever you just explain it well. Explain it well. So that's it. Our time is fast spent, guys. Almost 2 hours today. I don't know. See you guys later, please. Let's go. My captains, wait for 3 minutes because I have to even go somewhere. So, thank you.
Good night, sir.
Good night, guys.